Okay, so your book has been shortlisted for the Nigeria Prize for Literature, a journey that started with more than 250 entries.
About 287.
287, yeah. How does it feel to be one of the last three standing?
It's really incredible. It's amazing. It's mind-blowing. I never thought I would be on the long list. So to be at this point where I'm among the top three, not just being there, but also with my friends, my brothers, Romeo and Sadiq, is priceless. It's something I never would have imagined at the beginning of the year. But I mean, here we are. I almost feel like I mentioned elsewhere, I feel like God is just trying to use me to show off and tell people that, yeah, so this can happen. So it's really, really amazing.
Yeah, it's actually more interesting that the three of you actually belong to the same generation and you are friends.
Indeed. Yes. It's something that none of us really imagined this. All of us, this is the first time we're putting our work in for the prize, our poetry. And if you had asked us if this would happen, we'd definitely tell you no. I mean, all of us seem to have just put it in for the heck of it. I mean, let's just see how it will go. And for it to come this way, it really is something that is really boosting to our morale. It shows that at least we are doing something right. And it also, it's a big statement, not just for us, because we are representative of a whole new generation. We are representative of different geographic spectrums. Because before this time, people had also been talking of how the prize seems to be rotating between the various ethnicities and the rest. But what this year has done is, one, it has helped to demystify the prize. It has helped to give more faith and belief in the prize and also the literary process. Because as writers, we're always looking up, writing is a very difficult journey. It's often hard to get into these prizes and stuff. So the more people know that there are prizes like this that they can aspire to, the more a younger person thinks that, okay, yes, I can do this. The more a thief person somewhere or a dormer or so anybody from Benue thinks, oh, I can do this because this person is there. The more hope is given to others, the more it's going to give them the courage to write and put their works out there. So I think it's really, really great, not just for us, but everybody concerned.
I would like to come back to what you just said. I hope I remember to do that. But let's go to your book, Memory and the Call of Waters. The book actually deals with a number of themes from love, depression, politics, and all of that. Which of them stands out the most for you?
Life. Life stands out the most to me because what I set out to do in the book was basically to collate personal and communal history and memory in that sense. There are so many things that we do not get to talk about. There are so many things that we get to forget. So it was just trying to put all of this together and most importantly, trying to put elements of hope, because we cannot, while we're looking at all the depression, all the evils and everything, we must always find space to put in hope, because if we do not have hope, if we do not have that faith too, that things will get better, then we'll be as good as dead. We'll be living lives that are so bleak. And we cannot afford to do that, especially if we're aspiring to make things better. It's only when we have that touch of hope that we can use it as the fire or the light to quench the darkness.
I mean, that would look like swimming against the tide, because it's believed that poetry usually looks at more darker, more negative parts of human existence. I don't know if I'm right or I'm right.
I think you're wrong, because it depends on what you consider poetry. Because personally, I feel like people think of poetry strictly as those things that we just cut into lines and put on pages. But through the years, we've seen, even in local areas, that's in traditional areas that we come from, that we had rich poetry. I mean, the fables we used to hear, the orikis and everything, in every tradition, there was poetry. It's just that we've transitioned more from the oral poetry to page poetry. So people are beginning to look at it in more formalized or European sense. Think of the poem, the very popular poem, "My mother who sat and watched my infant head." That's a poem. If you set out, for instance, sir, to toast a woman, to woo a woman, by the time you're speaking that sweet words, those sweet words, oh, your eyes are mesmerizing me, everything about you is lovely. That's poetry. So poetry is more than just those things that some people would decide to write or maybe depress others with. So yes, I really believe that poetry is like life. It has its good side, it has its bad side, but more often than not, in Africa, you'd find people concentrating on the darker elements, at least when they're putting it down to page.
Okay, Swedi, so tell me a little bit about yourself. I know that you've been around. You've won a number of awards. You are a chieftain of the Association of Nigeria Authors, and you've won quite a number of you have had a number of recognitions and awards. Tell me a bit about them.
Wow. My first official book was published in 2012. But before then, I had edited a couple of anthologies. I had worked towards putting things together. But my first book was published in 2012. It was longlisted for some prizes, got on some shortlists. But my first major award, literary award, came in 2014 when I won the Association of Nigerian Authors Poetry Prize with my Home Equals Holes. Interestingly, do I have the book anywhere here? Interestingly, the book seems to carry themes that I have carried over into this. And the cover, if I was to show you, I don't know where it is, but if I was to show you the cover, it's also from a similar place as this. This is from the Third Mainland Bridge, but it shows the other place. So what else? I should mention, I also write lots of prose. And at some point, people seemed to think that I was only more of a short story writer than poetry, which is very funny because I seem to have far more laurels on the poetic side. So I've been a poet, I've been a short story writer, but the key thing in my literary career has been my literary administration, because I discovered quite early that we do not have enough opportunities in Nigeria for writers. And rather than go about saying, oh, we don't have this opportunity or government must help us, it was best to start something, which was why we started Savage Publishers in 2012, which has its traditional and vanity places so that we can cater to helping writers who do not have funds, and of course, for those who have funds, giving them a much more literary experience. So it's been a very interesting journey because if I did not start all of these things and if I wasn't involved with them, I wouldn't know Romeo and Sadiq, who are my brothers, like I've mentioned. Sadiq and I go a long way. We've been on some prizes together. We've been to various conventions. In fact, in one of the ANA conventions, his father was contesting for the president or for the presidency of the association while I was a state chairman. So it was expected as a state chairman, I would be trying to do politics. I'll be talking to the delegates to vote one person or the other. And it was also expected that someone like Sadiq would be canvassing for votes for his father. But as fate would have it, or as these things go, rather than do all of this, both of us were busy gisting about literature, about how we want the future to be and things like that. Romeo, on the other hand, we've also had crazy experiences. There was a time when Romeo came to my house like around, I think, 2 a.m. or something. We had to go and pick him and we had crazy fun. But it just goes to show that it's been a rich life, and the literary activism has been able to connect me with so many beautiful and amazing people. And no matter what the results get to be, I think it's what I would like to continue doing because I can't think of anything else.
You're also one of those who do not believe that the reading culture in Nigeria is poor. I find that very encouraging. Why do you think that the reading? I mean, why do you think so?
It's like what we said about poetry earlier on. It's like how people just believe. Most times when we think in just one direction. So earlier on when we were talking of poetry, you are thinking of poetry strictly in the form of the book, but poetry is far broader, like I said. So let's look at reading again. think of it, how many people do not have a smartphone that they look at, whether they are looking at Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter? What are they doing? They're actually reading what is there on Twitter. They're reading what is there on Facebook. Take that aside. Let's say, okay, maybe let's take away the phone aspect. Go to almost any bus stop, any place where newspapers are sold. You would almost always find several people over there reading or flipping through those newspapers, discussing the politics and everything, engaging with it. So it only goes to show you that Nigerians read and they read and they read a lot. So the question is not, do Nigerians read? The question should be, what do Nigerians read? So if we want them to start reading something else that we want, then we can have those conversations of making them to start reading books, perhaps, or any other thing that we want them to read. But Nigerians read a lot, and this also dispels the myth that most people have that if you want to hide anything, you can put it in between the covers of a book and blah, blah, blah. Because again, ask almost anywhere around you, almost everywhere you go to, almost every street corner, you will find graduates. Nigerians are around the most educated people you would find in the world. Most of the times when I traveled abroad, and in fact, when I was schooling in England, I found out that most of the people in my school were first generation undergraduates, meaning their fathers, their grandfathers, great-grandfathers, none of them had gone to school. Their brothers, their sisters, none of them are going to the university. Probably they will stop at secondary school. And this is England that we all look up to. Oh, this is Oyibo land, as it were now, the king's country. But in Nigeria here, check, it's hard to find a community. Go to 1, 2, 3, the next door, you find a graduate. 1, 2, 3, you find a graduate. You have so many graduates such that now, to even get a job, you need to have a PhD in several places. Masters is almost like Botox now. Everybody has it. So you need to have that extra thing. So it only goes to show that, one, we read a lot, because before you get this degree, even if you're going to bribe your way, you must have read something. You're going to read at least one of the books. So what are we saying?
What does the involvement of an organization like NLNG in this prize, what does it do for writing and the arts generally in Nigeria?
It does a lot in the sense that I mentioned earlier that we do not get lots of support for literature and writing in Nigeria, which is really terrible, because we all want our children, we all want people to read more of the things that we want them to read. We want them to concentrate more on books. We want them to stop turning into zombies. They're always doing like this. But we are not encouraging them to do this, because people would only tilt towards that which they know is profitable. So if people know that they can, for instance, read more and be rewarded for it, then they will definitely read. If people know that they can write more and be rewarded for it, then they'll definitely write. What the NLNG does is they give this award for literary merit, and also the, so in essence, they deal with the hardware and the software, the content, and also the packaging. So what this does to most people is it makes them to stand up to ensure that they write well, and also that they publish something that has some merit that can be at least qualified for the prize. So this means for every year that NLNG is taking this prize, more writers are going to be aspiring to write better. They're not going to just write garbage and put it forward because they know that, wow, this money, $100,000, can change my life. So let me work hard to ensure that I get this money. So they are going to sit up, they are going to read more, write something that will be able to make sense, and put it in for the prize. Now, this is the beauty of it. 287 people entered for this prize. 11 people were on the long list, 3 on the short list. 1 person is going to win. But these 287 people, they did a lot of work to ensure that their books would come out. They ensured that everything will be clean. And it's not just for the prize, because those books are still going to be there. Other people will still get to read it. And if those people are to die today, those books will be able to stand for them. So what this prize does is more than just give a prize or give monetary value to one person. It inspires a whole lot of people to sit up and do something big. So that's why we keep encouraging more organizations to do this, so that they can encourage more people, and importantly, to reward writers, because writing is a very arduous task. It's a very solitary journey, and it's almost unpaid, because you do all of these things and you sell your book, you print a book. As a publisher, I know this, that if you're publishing a book of, say, maybe 200 pages now, you might pay up to ₦1 million or more for this. If you're doing 1,000 copies, how much are you going to sell this book? How much are you going to make from it? Now, people might want to buy your book, but because the country is hard, because of economic hardships, these people would not be able to do all of this. So the more prizes we have, and the more we have corporate bodies supporting these things, the more somebody can make money to be able to take care of this production cost. So if another organization, say maybe Yonda Incorporated, decides to give 500,000 naira to somebody else, or stake that price for someone else, if that person wins the money, it's going to take care of a lot. So in essence, you might not recover all of your production costs, but it has reduced it. And importantly, it also it gives recognition, in the sense that since we started this thing, more people, we wouldn't be having this conversation if not for this prize. So it has given me that recognition. It has given me more openings to more people. And in a way, it's opening doors for several others. So in summary, what I'm saying, as in, despite all my Dogon Torrenti, my plenty grammar, it's simply prizes like this have a way of making things better for everybody, not just the writer. It improves the writership, the community, and it gives people the inspiration to do more. So perhaps we should all think of how we can go in our own corners and stake little prizes, even if it's to do a 50,000 naira prize. It doesn't need to be $100,000 always. We can all do it if we decide to.